Hello, I'm Esther Githu-Yuot. It's Wednesday, June 1st. This is Africa 54.
Rwanda says it will retaliate if attacked by Congo. We'll have details. Aid agencies in the United Nations sound the alarm on East Africa's drought. And Zimbabwe taps into the growing demand for cryptocurrencies by creating an online exchange platform.
We begin with the diplomatic feud between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, which has escalated in recent days as both sides trade accusations of aiding armed militias in the volatile eastern DRC region, which borders Rwanda. Rwanda's foreign minister has warned that his country will retaliate against any further attacks launched from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Vincent Makori has more.
Rwanda will not sit idle if it suffers further attacks from neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo, its foreign minister has said. Vincent Biruta's talk of retaliation is the latest example of escalating tensions between the two countries. In May, Rwanda accused Congo of firing shells across the border. Over the weekend, Congo summoned Rwanda's ambassador and suspended Rwanda air flights to Congo. That was in response to what it said was Rwanda's support for M23 rebels, or have been carrying out an offensive in Congo's eastern borderlands, clashes that the UN says displaced more than 72,000 people in a single week. Rwanda denies the claims and has in turn accused Congo's army of fighting alongside the democratic forces for the liberation of Rwanda. The FDLR is an armed group founded by ethnic Hutus who fled Rwanda after participating in the 1994 genocide. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday, Foreign Minister Biruta said Rwanda has the right and the means to respond to protect the security of its citizens.
The attacks continue. Rwanda will have the right to respond and to protect the security of the country, to protect the security of its citizens, and you have means to do that. So there is no presence of Rwandan soldiers in DRC, and from there, there could not be any collaboration with any other force present in Eastern DRC if there is no presence of Rwandan soldiers.
He said FDLR fighters were in the ranks of Congo's army when their shells allegedly destroyed houses and injured people on the Rwandan side of the border. Congo government spokesman Patrick Muyaya said Rwanda's discourse on the FDLR no longer makes sense. The FDLR are killing our people, not the Rwandan people, he said. Senegal's President Macky Sall, who is the chair of the African Union, said on Sunday that he was seriously concerned by the rising tensions between the two countries and called for dialogue to find a peaceful resolution to the crisis. Vincent Makori, VOA News.
For more on the tensions between Rwanda and Congo, I'm joined live via Skype from Dixon College, Pennsylvania by JeanPierre Carriger, who has written extensively on the conflict in Central Africa region. Dr. Carriger, welcome to Africa 54.
Thanks.
First of all, tell us what indeed could be the genesis of this latest tension between Rwanda and Congo.
Yes, if we consider just like the situation of the two states, like Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, I think the crucial moment was 1994 after the genocide, when those who committed the genocide went to the Congo, and they had, of course, a blessing from the Congolese government and also France during that time. So that has been a crucial moment, and they are still in the Congo and operating within the Congo. And after the genocide, when they were in the Congo, they were still attacking Rwanda. Just to give you an example, in 1997, which means 3 years after genocide, they attacked Rwanda and they killed students in a school called Nyange School, and 7 kids were killed and 20 of them wounded. So that is, I would say, is one of the main reasons, having FDLR in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the continuing they're cooperating with the complicity with some Congolese. So that is one, but there is also what I may call like a genesis of the conflict is also the situation of Congolese who speak in Rwanda and they continue to be considered as Rwandan and they're not Congolese. And so that is also, yeah.
Right. What's, in your opinion, would be the best approach to avert a possible war between the two countries?
Yeah, I mean, what is sad, of course, I think when Tshisekedi took power, people were believing like there was something that was going to change in the relationship between Congo and Rwanda. But I would say when he was cooperating, working with President Kagame, but within his political party, some people will continue to use a kind of hate speech and using like Rwanda as scapegoat, especially preparing like election in the Congo. So I think things that need to be done in the two countries or in the region. One is there is also not to use like, for example, population and the conflict or hate speech as a way of getting power. And we know that like from the experience of Rwanda in 1994, what does it mean, hate speech, the consequences of that. In Kenya, for example, in the last election, I mean, in Kenya also, the hate speech, like during some of the elections. So, and I think that is a very, very dangerous. And the hate speech is considered as a foundation, the starting point of any genocide. So I would say that is a very, very dangerous.
Jean-Pierre, because we're running out of time, let me say thank you very much for your analysis. Jean-Pierre Carriger is an expert on conflicts in Central Africa. He joined us from Dixon College, Pennsylvania. The United Nations and humanitarian agencies have warned that a fifth consecutive rainy season could fail in East Africa, leaving millions of people facing severe hunger. Clara Frank has more.
Across East Africa, suffering its worst drought in 4 decades, millions are in need of rain. But on Tuesday, the United Nations and humanitarian agencies warned that such prayers may well go unanswered. 4 consecutive rainy seasons have failed, they said in a joint statement. The March-May season appears to be the driest on record. That's exacerbating a hunger crisis that could see 20 million people facing acute food insecurity by September. According to the statement forecasts, there is a concrete risk that a 5th rainy season, from October to December, will also fail. Claire Nullis, spokesperson for the World Meteorological Organization, told a briefing in Geneva that the threat of starvation looms in East Africa. And there's growing concern that the situation is set to get worse. Millions of livestock have died in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia, and over 1 million people displaced in Somalia and southern Ethiopia. Aid agencies are seeking to avoid a repeat of the famine a decade ago that killed hundreds of thousands of people. The statement said a rapid scaling up of actions is needed now to save lives and avert starvation and death. Clara Frank, VOA News.
Nigerian manufacturers say they are struggling with rising grain prices, especially for wheat sparked by Russia's war on Ukraine. But even before the war started in February, Nigeria had been dealing with fuel and power shortages as well as high inflation. Timothy Obiezu reports from Abuja, Nigeria.
Machukwu Rizu has a baby formula business and is preparing for a delivery. One key ingredient she uses is brown wheat, but due to Russia's war on Ukraine, she's not sure when she will get her next supply.
So I use wheat alongside oats and then yam flour to produce that particular one. I wouldn't lie to you. To even get it is even difficult. It's not just about the increase in price. To get the wheat is actually difficult now because I buy in bulk.
Orizu started making baby formulas 6 years ago after quitting her former job as a laboratory scientist. But she says lately, without her supply of wheat, business has not been the same.
So I'm already trying to research on how to switch wheat for something else. What we have on mind for now is acha, that's fonio. Yeah, so I'm taking between now and Friday to make that decision.
Nigeria imported an average $2 billion worth of wheat in 2020 and 2021, mostly from the United States and Russia, according to the country's Statistics Bureau. The Wheat Farmers Association of Nigeria says local production of wheat here meets less than 10% of the country's needs. The Nigerian Manufacturers Association says grain shortages are not the only problem. Before the invasion, businesses were already dealing with electricity and fuel shortages, inflation, poor infrastructure, and growing insecurity.
Insecurity has made the supply chain internally to be very difficult. The most impacted part of the country also happens to be the belt that we get most of our food from. We have had challenges. Now it is compounded by the fact that people cannot even farm.
Nigerian authorities blamed the electricity shortage on the collapse of the national grid multiple times since January. Many businesses like Usman Muhammad's Bakery are cut off from power and rely on diesel fuel to power generators, but that too has tripled in price since the beginning of the year.
They use a lot of diesel to start work because the electricity is very scarce.
Authorities also said the recall in January of 170 million liters of tainted fuel from circulation led to fuel shortages. For now, many business owners like Orizo and Muhammad are just getting by. Timothy Obiezu for VOA News, Abuja, Nigeria.
In Ghana, sexual assault victims must show medical reports to prove they have been assaulted before a rape suspect can be prosecuted. These medical examinations come at a relatively high cost and are not covered by the National Health Insurance, and so can deter a victim from pressing charges. Now, a lawmaker is seeking to abolish the health exam requirement so that more women are able to pursue justice. Senanu Todd reports from Bato, Ghana.
The Achem family has 3 daughters who live together in the North Dong district of Ghana. Earlier this month, the youngest of the 3, a 15-year-old, was abducted and raped.
He showed my sister a picture of a 14-year-old girl on his phone and told her he had killed the girl in the picture because she refused to let him have sex with her. He then threatened to kill my sister if she resisted. He hit her chest with a pistol, tried to choke her, and beat her up so her entire face was swollen.
Irene's sister was discharged from the hospital after 7 days and is scheduled for checkups for the next 6 months. These costs are not covered by the National Health Insurance Program, the NHIS.
As long as it is defilement or rape or sexual assault review, health insurance doesn't cover. So whatever investigations that you perform, then the patient would have to pay from either his or her pocket or get the money from elsewhere.
An NHIS official tells VOA the national program does not consider sexual assault a health issue but a criminal issue instead. The Member of Parliament for the North Tong constituency says this is an injustice, and this month told local hospitals in his constituency to stop charging examination fees for sexual assault victims. Instead, his office will pay the fees.
Showing that in one constituency it is possible. We have abolished this, and so we can now scale it up. The next phase, I'm talking to a number of colleagues to team up with me so that we draft a private members bill so that we will outlaw those charges.
A 2020 UNICEF study found that the cost of seeking justice for sexual assault in Ghana can cost from 10% to 55% of a household's income, a major factor deterring many victims from coming forward. Parliament member Ablakwa says his goal is to make it easy for victims to seek justice and the perpetrators to be duly punished.
No matter your status, no matter who you are, no matter how much money you think you have, this is a crime that will be punished, and that we have a zero tolerance policy from henceforth.
With these new measures, the Achem family hopes they will be able to press charges against her attacker. Senanu Todd for VOA News, Bato, Ghana.
And here's a roundup of African stories you may have missed. In northern Mali, a United Nations peacekeeper was killed and 3 others injured Wednesday in a terrorist attack on their convoy in Kidal, according to a MINUSMA spokesperson. The casualties were members of the mission's Jordanian contingent, and a security official said separately on condition of anonymity. In Sudan, hundreds of protesters, including supporters of Islamist groups, rallied Wednesday in front of the United Nations mission in Khartoum to call for its dismissal. The protests were endorsed by Islamist groups that have criticized efforts by UN envoy Volker Perthes to resolve the political crisis in Sudan since last year's military coup. Guinea's ruling junta has rejected a UN call to lift a ban on political demonstrations, insisting protests should only be allowed during the election period in 3 years' time. U.S. Ambassador Mike Hammer will serve as the new U.S. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, according to a statement from the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. Ambassador Hammer takes up the position at a time of persistent political turmoil in the region. We'd like to hear what you think about Africa 54 and all our VOA Africa programs on our website at voaafrica.com. Still to come in our technology report, cryptocurrencies go mainstream in Africa. We'll hear about a startup in Zimbabwe where there's a growing demand for digital currencies. But first, Haiti Adams tells us what's on tap for Wednesday's Straight Talk Africa.
On the next Straight Talk Africa, persistent drought and overwhelming floods are wreaking havoc across the world, including the African continent, threatening not only livelihoods, but the very fabric of society. How can Africa best deal with this radically changing reality? Join me, Haiti Adams, and my guests as we explore the effects of climate change in African countries and the initiatives underway to mitigate it.
The British government has said the first flight of asylum seekers being sent to Rwanda under a controversial scheme will take place on June 14th. David Doyle has more.
The first flight carrying asylum seekers from Britain to Rwanda is expected to take place in 2 weeks, the UK government has said. That's under a plan announced by Prime Minister Boris Johnson's government in April that has drawn criticism from both inside and outside his Conservative Party, as well as many charities. The UK's Home Office said on Tuesday that an initial group of migrants had started to receive formal letters, telling them they are being sent to Rwanda to, quote, rebuild their lives in safety. In a statement, Home Secretary Priti Patel said the first flight is expected to take place on June 14th. The British government says the scheme is designed to break people smuggling networks. Last year, 28,000 people made the crossing from mainland Europe to the UK, mostly in small boats. The government has dismissed criticism that the policy lacks compassion, saying it's worse to encourage a system where many asylum seekers are exploited by people smugglers. The Home Office did not say how many asylum seekers would be on the first flight to Rwanda.
David Doyle of Reuters with that report. In Cameroon, nearly 150 manatees, an endangered aquatic species, also known as sea cow, are killed each year by poaching for unintentionally by fishing. An aid group has created a mobile application to collect data to help reduce manatee deaths. Anne Zwaku reports from Lake Osa.
Once a week, Annick and her colleagues from the African Marine Mammal Conservation Organization, or AMCO, go to Lake Osa to collect data on manatees, a species classified as vulnerable by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. Using different probes, they learn the temperature of the water, whether manatees are still living there and how deep they are.
We collect these data to monitor the evolution of the environment, to monitor the impact of all these dangers on the distribution of the manatee in Lake Osa, and also to be able to anticipate these dangers.
The manatee is an aquatic mammal generally living in shallow coastal waters. It can be found in the waters of the Cameroonian coast, such as Lake Osa near the town of Dizangi. Unfortunately, the manatee's habitat overlaps with the fishing areas of local populations, leading to poaching and accidental entanglement in fishermen's net, which causes the death of about 150 manatees each year, according to data from Cameroonian researchers. While collecting data, the NGO also raises awareness among fishermen about the importance of the species, the threats weighing on it, and the legislation in force for its protection.
Manatee used to be a very good food here at home, a very good food. Every month, for example, I used to eat manatee at least once, but this is no longer the case since AMCO arrived here and made us aware of the problem.
AMCO developed a mobile application for collecting manatee observations and made it available to fishermen who participate in a manatee monitoring network. When a fisherman sees a manatee or a trace of life such as feces, he takes a photo, connects to the application, indicates the location, date, GPS figures, and nature of the finding. The NGO analyzes and validates the information and then makes it public on the application's interface. Sylvain Eborg represents the local ministry in charge of wildlife.
It allows us to reassure ourselves that these species are still there. We are not going to protect a space just to protect. We need to be reassured that what we are protecting still exists, so it's a good application.
The conservation group says it has created a network of 156 fishermen who use the application daily. It is now in the process of expanding its work to other marine protected species such as turtles, rays, and dolphins. Anne Zouanke for VOA News, Dizangue, Cameroon.
It's time for our tech segment, and joining us now is our technology reporter, Paul Ndiho. Paul?
Thank you, Esther. As cryptocurrencies go mainstream, countries in Africa seem to be warming up to the idea of digital currencies. In Zimbabwe, a new startup called Sawa Technologies Incorporated is trying to tap into this growing demand for cryptocurrencies by creating an online exchange platform dubbed Mansa Musa, where people can trade into cryptocurrencies. I spoke to Tulani Mutunzi, CEO of Sawa Technologies, based in Harare, Zimbabwe. Welcome to Africa 54.
Greetings to your viewers. Thank you for having me on your program.
You run a fintech company. You're based in Zimbabwe, but you operate in South Africa as well. How are things shaping up for you, considering that there is so much happening in the world of fintech?
Our startup is an online platform that enables anyone to safely and easily invest in cryptocurrencies as well as international stocks, commodities, and forex, all on one app, which is our mobile app and also our desktop application. And we kickstarted last year in February 2021. I began by putting together a team of people who are all experts in building trading systems in Africa, as well as cryptocurrency trading systems.
When you talk about building a network or a platform that allows people to do trading in cryptocurrencies, stocks, and other digital assets, what are you exactly talking about? There are very few people who don't understand these terminologies, who don't understand what e-trading is all about, what cryptocurrency is all about, what are digital assets, for example?
And that's a good question. Well, firstly, our platform will enable users to trade, like I said, cryptocurrencies, international stocks, commodities, and forex on one platform. Now, cryptocurrencies are basically digital money, which is got a price that goes up and down. And it can also be something that you can invest in. So it's quite a new asset currently in the world that people are investing into, but it has proven to be quite profitable if you learn how to trade these cryptocurrencies.
Cryptocurrencies are very, very volatile. For example, here in the United States, I know a lot of people who had invested money into crypto, and it crashed. How do you guard against those kinds of uncertainties where things happen that you have absolutely no control over?
There are two things that we are doing to ensure that our users are safe on our platform whenever they are investing, especially in view of the current situation that is happening with cryptocurrencies throughout the world. There are two things: education onto the platform to promote responsible investing. And then the second thing that we are doing is that we're not going to include dangerous features onto the platform, like high margin trading. We are not going to allow our users to bet with large amounts of money to buy cryptocurrencies on our platform.
Let's talk about something that is fascinating in Zimbabwe. The government said that they were banning all exchanges. They were discouraging banks from lending people or people from withdrawing money. Are we back at that point where the recession is so high that the government is no longer in control of making those, allowing people to make those easy decisions?
What the Zimbabwean government has done is that they have just increased the taxes on trading, which is the capital gain tax. And this was done to discourage day trading on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. But we believe that it's just a temporary measure. And then as for the lending of money, yes, the government did order a directive that banks are not allowed to lend out money at the moment. But this was done, of course, to just ensure that there is no exchange manipulations that are being done, especially on the black market. It's just done to curb that problem that we have in Zimbabwe. But we also believe that's just a temporary measure, and things will go back to normal.
Thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you very much, Paul, for having me on your program. I really appreciate it.
Tulani Mutunzi, CEO of Sawasawa Technologies, is based in Harare, Zimbabwe. That's today's Tech Report. Back to you, Esther.
Paul, thanks. Be sure to join Paul Ndiho every Wednesday for another tech segment on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. To watch Africa 54, go on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.